Good evening, everyone. That video of mine that got taken down the other day got put back up. I had said I wasn't going to appeal it, but then after I thought about it and watched it a couple times, I just basically appealed it because I was curious why it got taken down. I thought they're going to tell me why, but I guess they reviewed it and figured out that there wasn't nothing wrong with it, so they put it back up. But anyways, not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about the geopolitical situation going on in the world. I'm gonna run down a little bit of what's going on in a few different countries and different regions around the world. Uh, as I'm sure everyone's quite well aware, we have economic troubles all over the world. We have various amounts of violence for various reasons in different parts of the world. So just kind of give a rundown of some things that are going on and perhaps opine about stuff along the way. So first thing we got going on here is the Finland and Sweden looking to join part of NATO, and you got the good old Big Bad Vlad Putin, telling them that's not a good idea. That'd be a mistake. But does Putin get a vote in that? I'm not too sure. But someone who does get literally a vote is Turkey, because to join NATO, you got to get a unanimous vote by all the current NATO member nations. Turkey's one of them, and Turkey's a kind of a crappy ally. They don't really go along with the other members of NATO on certain stuff. So they're talking about they don't think that Finland and Sweden should be joining NATO. And from what I've heard, is that basically it's just a way for them to try to get something out of the deal, right? So supposedly they want to get some fighter jets, but heard somewhere that the fighter jets that they're getting aren't that great performing anyway, so I'm not too sure about what's going on with that. But let's talk about some items going on in Africa, and people wonder, does the United States right now have a strategy with regards to Africa? Because, you know, this current regime in power here in the U.S., you know, they like to go from one cluster to another. And let's take a look at some of the stuff going on in Africa. So you have that ongoing conflict, civil war, whatever it is, over there in Ethiopia. They also have a food shortage going on there. And they've been starving over there in Ethiopia since the 80s. I'm sure corrupt governments don't help the situation there. But there might be end in sight. So of course I'm gonna, well, not of course, because sometimes I don't, but I got a bunch of links for these stories. I'll throw them in the description. A couple times on my videos I forgot to throw the links in there and had to go back and add them later, but I'll try to put some at least one link for each of these situations going on. So Ethiopia, they're hungry and they're killing each other. That's a common theme these days all over the world, or at least people are going to become quite hungry, and as a result, they're going to be killing each other, or people are just killing each other because that's what people do. So then over in Libya, you got some violence going on there, basically civil war, different factions killing the other factions, and they too have a food shortage going on. That's not going to help the situation at all either. And then over in Somalia, the United States just recently deployed a bunch of special forces over to Somalia. And supposedly they're not going to be involved in any military fighting. I don't know what they're going to be doing over there. Thought that they were going to be doing something in regards to Al Shabaab, that Islamic terrorist group. It's interesting. You go all over the world, and there's a lot of problems between this religion and that religion, right? So in Israel, you got one side you have the Jews, the other side you have somebody else. In Pakistan, India, Pakistan is one thing. India is predominantly Hindu, and they got a clash going on there. Other parts of the world, you have Christians clashing with someone else. In parts of Southeast Asia, you have Buddhists clashing with somebody else. And in all these situations, somebody else, it's always one particular somebody else. So, there's a common thread there. Doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this shit out, but, whatever. So let's, moving along, let's take a look at Yemen. Yemen, they got possible famine on the horizon there. I guess they've had a ceasefire in effect there, and 2 weeks left on that. And over there, you got basically a proxy war, but the frontline belligerents against each other. I think it's one flavor of someone else against another flavor of someone else. So that someone else can't even get along with its own flavors. And then continuing our meandering through the Middle East, you got Iran's been having food demonstrations with the government hardcore crackdown on the demonstrators. Probably learned that from Biden or Trudeau or something like that, maybe. And then you got potential plans for Israeli strike on Iran because of the nuclear weapons fears. So back in the day, I forget how long ago it was, Israel did a military strike to take out nuclear capabilities of Iran. Same thing might happen again. Then you got Sri Lanka. So I was seeing something. They were talking about some real bad series of attacks on, I forget what these institution of some sort or another, on the buildings of government buildings. Not sure if it was churches or what, but this I think was 2019, and once again it was a certain particular group doing that. Then you had about a year or so ago, the president of Sri Lanka, he gonna go green. And so he decided Sri Lanka is gonna ban any type of chemical pesticide or fertilizer. So their agricultural industry last year implemented no use of chemical pesticides or chemical fertilizer. Well, they had the harvest come out, and the harvest was 50% of what it normally was. So, now they're reaping what that stupid ass go green president was sowing, because they got all kinds of food shortages there. But they're having people beat the shit out of other people in the streets. I guess they're dragging politicians out of their cars and tossing them into the river. Shit like that. Pretty bad. So, article talking about the economy looks like it's going to get worse before it even gets better. Then you have India. India recently banned the export of wheat because of the whole worldwide food situation. And then to boot, they just deployed a bunch of troops on the border with China. So we got things heating up again between India and China. And speaking of China, good old China. China. So you got China accusing the AUKUS, that's what, Australia, USA, and the UK, of inciting an arms race. You know, the CCP go around accusing the United States and NATO and the U.S. allies of a Cold War mentality and Cold War tactics. Well, all along, they're the ones doing all this shenanigans, you know, Cold War style tactics. What do you expect from commies? It's just like the commies here in this country. You know, accuse your opponents of what you're doing. That's a leftist tactic from going way back. And then another situation we got going on from various, I guess, NATO members calling for global NATO to include the whole Indo-Pacific region. So we'll see how that plays out. Meanwhile, the United States of America has no capability to fight two wars in two different theaters. So if we get involved in the whole Ukraine-Russia deal, China decided to pop off doing something, we don't have any capability to handle both of those at the same time. So basically, this whole rundown was just about a bunch of governments around the world pulling a bunch of shenanigans, you know, whether it's manipulating currency or blaming another country for their ills, or pulling that crap that stupid president did with the no chemical pesticides, or Chinese government throwing out accusations. And we got stuff like this, you know, in this country too. Basically, the less legitimate a government is, the more type of shenanigans it's going to pull. And we see that worldwide meltdown going on from multiple governments of multiple countries. And I think it's because they know that they're not legitimate, and they have to pull all these shenanigans in hopes of appearing to be legitimate. Anyways, that's the rundown for what's going on geopolitically these days. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll catch you guys on the next one.